Finally, the townspeople saw me, and most of them even knew my name.
Tonight, tonight,
Flossie sang happily.
Tru, you do know what an honor it is to be here tonight, don't you?
I did. The Arete Society wasn't simply a book club. It was known throughout the state as the best and most prestigious book club. They rarely invited anyone outside their membership to speak at their meetings. Being asked to make a presentation was like being invited to dine at the governor's mansion. No, this was better. The current governor was rather unpopular. It wasn't until we were walking up to the house that it had hit me. Rebecca invited me to talk about my work with the books at the library, I said, still unwilling to move any closer to Hazel's house.
Yes, dear.
Flossie tilted her head and gave me a searching look.
I know why we're here. That's one reason why it's so exciting.
Yes, but Rebecca wants me to talk about my work with the books at the library. I shivered in the cool January air. Even though Cypress was in the middle of balmy South Carolina, it still experienced occasional winter cold snaps. A sharp northern breeze rattled the branches in the trees above us. I shouldn't have agreed to come.
Oh, go on with you. I'm sure you could steer the conversation,
Flossie said, now grinning like a teen going out on her first date. This was really a big night for her. But could I pull it off? Most of my work at the library was a secret. While half of the book club members were in on the secret, the other half had no idea I'd set up an unauthorized book room in the library's basement.
Just talk about why you carry around that tote bag of yours and dodge any questions about where the books came from,
Flossie suggested. That's not going to work. I shouldn't have even brought the tote bag. What is wrong with me? I'd been so dazzled by the invitation that I completely ignored the problem with my being here. I held up the tote bag as if it were filled with explosives. It wasn't. I'd filled the canvas tote with books I thought the ladies attending tonight would enjoy.
I don't understand. You're a modern-day book-hauling Robin Hood, Flossie said. That's something you should be proud of. That's something to be celebrated.
I can't be here because of Lita Farnsworth, my boss, my intimidating boss, who was possibly the cleverest woman in town. Cypress's head librarian had been a member of the Arete Society for longer than anyone could remember. I'd forgotten that she would be here. Well, I knew she would be here, but I didn't stop to consider what her listening to my talk might mean.
So, she should be just as proud of you as I am.
Flossie still didn't get it. When I start to hand out the books from my tote bag, Mrs. Farnsworth will recognize them as library books. You know, the same library books that were supposed to have been removed from the library. If she ever discovers I converted her library's basement into a secret book room without her consent, I will be out of a job before you can say, "Bob's your uncle."
That's a funny phrase, Bob's your uncle. Not awfully common in the United States. It's Irish in origin, so I suppose it shouldn't be too surprising we say it here in Cyprus. After all, several of our town's founders arrived here from Ireland. According to my research, the phrase arose in the late 1880s when British Prime Minister Robert Cecil appointed his nephew to the post of Chief Secretary for Ireland. The Irish were quite unhappy with this act of nepotism, and that's how people started saying Bob's your uncle whenever anything was sure to happen. The man had literally been given the post because Bob was his uncle.
I usually enjoyed Flossie's impromptu etymological musings, but right now I was in full panic mode. I didn't want to lose my job. Working at Cypress's public library was my life. I considered taking the tote bag back to the car, but that wouldn't work. I already had a reputation for carrying that tote bag everywhere. Not bringing it to the book club would invite more questions, not fewer. And when I stood up in front of the book club and someone asked